Do you know whose brackets are still intact? This guy. All right. So that was Godfathers remaining undefeated versus Heretic Nation. And we talked about there were 3 types of teams, you said. One that'll bring something new and fall flat on their face. And that was kind of what Heretic did.
Except it wasn't even really that new. It was changing one ship to a worse ship in one of the most popular setups.
Yeah, but a ship that does a little bit different. So what's different between the Vindicator and the Navy?
It loses some really important bonuses like the web bonus. It gets an extra, over the Vindicator, it gets an extra low, 1 less mid, which is a bad trade, and costs less ISK. I think we're sticking with that as the #1 reason to feel...
That seems to be the only reason I can think of, is they just felt like it wasn't worth the extra $1 billion it would have cost to upgrade to Vindies.
Yeah. Because that's the only reason anyone I can imagine on TQ doing that. I mean, it fits.
You can tank them more.
Yeah, it's more tanky, but
might be afraid that they came up against a DPS setup and just rely on the small ship for tackling.
I mean, we saw how long it took those Navy megas to die even with no logistics. They were heavily tanked, more heavily tanked than a Vindy would have been. So if Godfathers had thought, hey, there's no web bonus, let's just charge in and kill the Vindies right away, they might have lost, because they could have lost a bunch of Cyclones fast. But they didn't. They were smart. They pulled away. They got the assault frigs down. They did everything right.
Yeah, despite the weird ship choice, Godfathers definitely deserves credit for really good piloting in that match. That wasn't like as much of a gimme as it might have looked like. They definitely could have screwed it up. They pulled away at the start. That was really smart. They focused on like the periphery and kind of, you know, the Ishkar that didn't get reps is probably because he's out of range, because he's gone out to try to tackle something, and that's all credit to Godfathers.
So the pulling away at the start, like for people that might not understand exactly why you do that. So why do you do that?
The goal there is to have the other ships come into you staggered. So you get the assault frigs in first, you shoot them down, and then more assault frigs hit, you shoot them down, and then the megas eventually arrive. So you get them spread out and take them down one by one. It's basically the same kind of tactics you'll see Kill 2 using in his streams with a solo Talos. You pull away and stuff comes to you one at a time, and you get to have a bunch of 1v1s instead of, in this case, a bunch of 12v1s.
The way Eve works, I mean, a really important part of small-scale PvP, which I think the tournament counts as, is that all ships go different speeds. Even if they're the same type of ship, it's very hard to get people to be coordinated enough to actually fly at the exact same speed. So if you give people a range to cover to get to you, they're almost always going to have a hard time getting their ranges the same, and especially in an environment like this where they're using a range of different ship classes. If you have a bunch of frigs and some support cruisers and some battleships, getting them all to arrive at exactly the same time to the enemy fleet is really difficult. So it's easier to just pull back and let them mess that up as they try to get to you, because then you get to take them apart piece by piece as they arrive.
All right, let's take a look at how the bracket looks now after the first 2 matches, because we do know what the first match of the next stage is going to be. That's going to be Hun Reloaded versus Godfathers, like I predicted. And if my predictions stay true, then Hun Reloaded will beat Godfathers. But, you know, who knows? Anyway, Pandemic Legion versus Test. It will probably be one of the more watched matches. You know, big alliances with big followings, but might not be entirely even in terms of skill.
Maybe not entirely.
Yeah, I think, honestly, all of these matches are ones where we could see upsets, and this would be the most the most spectacular upset of all these first round matches.
It definitely would be. Test Alliance with 7,000 members, PL with around 1,300. Test Alliance with no flagship. They probably just forgot.
PL with no flagship anymore.
Oh yes, that's
PL
true.
Was formerly a flagship.
That's true. Formerly a flagship. Yeah, losing to Rote, beating Dystopia. Yeah, that's going to be a fairly interesting match. All right, let's talk a little bit more about player-generated content.
Yes.
So what do we have apart from streaming?
Well, we have videos and songs. For instance, the song contest.
That's true.
That was hilarious, and I had a lot of fun listening to those entries. And I've also been hunting down other player-generated songs, the Internet Spaceships ones, or Starships.
There's been several lately, like full parodies.
Yeah.
There was
it's
like
been expanded a lot. Yeah. It used to be you'd see like the same couple people releasing.
It would be Suez, basically.
It would be Suez, or it would be David K. Magnus, or these guys that are releasing once every couple months. But then we've got a bunch in the last few months.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Really
How to Stay Aligned. That's the one.
How to Stay Aligned was awesome. That actually
really good.
That saved my ass. I had that song stuck in my head and was playing, and I remembered to align because of that. I would have died if I had not watched that song. So that was really good. And we also have videos and
do people write? Do players write? Like, there's a whole writing part of the forum, isn't there, where people like make fiction and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know who those people are, but I think that counts as player content.
Yeah.
How about the YouTube community? Because I mean, we're talking about not everyone having jumped into streaming it, but
Yeah.
there's quite a few people who make videos.
Yeah, there's been a big migration. It used to be that everything was hosted on e-files, and
Yeah.
people made kind of videos that were sort of similar. I mean, there was the outliers like Day of Darkness, that kind of stuff, and Clear Skies and stuff like that. But otherwise, it was all kind of similar and all happening on e-files, at least from what I can tell. And now everybody's shifting for the most part over to YouTube, and that's, I think, been good because it's easier. So a lot of the people that weren't putting out a video once every 6 months are now putting out way more regular content, every month or two maybe.
You don't have to download the full gig to realize whether or not you like it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I would also like to see a lot of those people migrate to streaming because, I mean, you can watch a highlight video of a roam, and that's like watching a highlight video from a sports game. But you actually sometimes want to watch the actual sports game, and that's what we get through streaming.
I mean, what I'm noticing, I'm not sure if this is true for everyone else, but it's always been an obstacle to try to capture the EVE kind of gameplay experience for content because it includes so much, and a lot of the parts of it aren't very obvious. They're more subtle, and they take more time to develop. And so as bandwidth is cheaper, or like moving to YouTube means more content is more easily available, and then streaming is even more. Yeah. It gets easier to kind of capture the actual full experience of whatever it is you're doing in EVE, which is amazing. So it's good.
I think it is good.
It's good.
The other great thing about streaming is you get to have this feedback right away, right? Like on YouTube, sure, you get the YouTube comments, you have people in your MyEve thread for your videos, but in streams, you have the stream chat right there.
Yeah.
And they can ask you questions, and then after a little bit of delay, when you can answer them. And
Yep.
Now I want to stream something.
It's fun.
Yeah.
We'll stream something.
We'll stream something.
We'll follow you around in Griffins.
Peel versus Tests, Ravy.
I'm going with PL.
It has to be PL.
I kind of just want to root for the upset, and I'm going to go with Tests.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Test Alliance.
All right, I'm going to be cynical and go with Peel.